Yeah, yeah. We wasn't meant to, but KMD started the stream already, so we're streaming. Hold on. Not yet. It's coming. It's coming. Let me stop the music then. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Hold tight, Cosip on the cam. Mind's Eye Media. You know how we do. Oh, we're gonna turn on the second camera now. That's just your camera running now, cause. Okay, you should be matching this up. Alright, listen. One, two. Are we streaming? What's it looking like? Go on there and see what the stream's saying. Oh, it's good. No.
Switching like a fader now, yeah?
No, it's just don't fade it. Just press the button. Just checking out the stream, people, and then we are ready to go. Let me finish my Maggie. Oh, why is it doing that? Record it.
It's recording. Is that hardwired into that as well?
Internet, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what? Even if it does that on there, it shouldn't do it on the stream.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it does that.
The,
Hardwired,
the
we're
lagging.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's beautiful.
Nice, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
Nice.
And this is all evidence for funders.
Yeah.
It's a recruitment tool.
Isn't it?
Then you bust that down into the short form.
Yeah.
Oh, we gonna get into it tonight.
And not only but now we're going to raise it up to LinkedIn so that you're seen. That's where the front is. Everybody really.
That's where the people is there, LinkedIn.
I'm going to
Do the moving camera. I'm gonna stand up and not sit down straight away, right? And then once I've sat down, then we'll keep this camera on the thingy. We'll keep this camera on the audience, and that. Oi. Communication between you two. I'm watching it, so okay. So that's what I said. I'm just doing the intro. And then I'm gonna turn it off and then put it there. So I'm just gonna do the introduction now. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Love, light, and blessings, my brothers and sisters. Big thank you for everyone coming. You tuned in to Take Note Live. We're live streaming live on Mind's Eye Media. You get what I'm trying to say? So thank you for everyone for coming. Love, light, and blessings. It's cold in here, so keep your coats on. You know what I'm saying? We've got hot drinks at the back. And where we're streaming from, we're streaming live from Bar 7, Upper Trinity Street. You get what I'm trying to say? So yeah, we're just gonna get started. We're just gonna get started and get cracking. Today, before that, house rules. So we're gonna do some house rules, and then I'll let you know how the evening's gonna go. So first of all, house rules. One mic, one person. We want one person talking at one time. So let's try not to have separate conversations. Let's try have one conversation rather than having loads of different conversations. Oh, let's get this off. Sorry. We need to get that straight away. One set. Shaka, can we get this off? Turn it off now. Yeah, the heater's got to go off now. My apologies. It's going to get cold. Yeah, so house rules. Everybody, can we all take the time out to listen to each other and then also respect each other's opinions and views? I kind of don't want it to be a thing where we're going back and forth and disagreeing and oh no and all the rest of it. I want it to be a good conversation where we're trying to really get some good solutions out and ways forward. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So today we're talking about the impact of modern culture on our community. You know what I'm trying to say? Before I got host Ridman's here hosting with me. It's his first time, so treat him good. What are you saying, Ridman? How are you?
I'm blessed, you know. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. So for those that don't know, my name is Rids. I am a senior youth justice mentor, and I work with young kids, vulnerable young kids and adults that are most at risk of exploitation. I do that in the West Midlands and outside the West Midlands as well. I've worked in primary schools, secondary schools, secure units, prisons, probation, Birmingham City Council, Solihull Council, Leicestershire Council, you name it, I've been there and I've done it. I'm a lived experience mentor as well, so obviously when I was younger, I was a part of the road. I went to prison, I came out and I changed my whole entire life, and now I'm set on changing the mindset of all these young people in our generation that are growing up and they're facing difficulties everywhere. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Make a little noise for Rids. Make a little noise for Rids, man. Cause you know we love to see the brothers them doing well on a right course. You get what I'm trying to say, and also making a contribution to the community, making a positive contribution to the community. So first of all, how are you? How you been? And how's your week been? We always gotta start like that. How's your week been? And how you feeling right now?
I'm blessed, you know. The only thing I can say is that I'm cold right now. I don't know about anybody else. I am just cold. I'm in my house, I'm cold. I'm outside, I'm cold. It's just cold everywhere. But my week's been blessed. Obviously, a few ups and downs, but that's life, you know what I'm saying? We just keep on going. You know, I spoke to you last night on the phone, a quick one. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just dealing with one and two things. But you know what? Everything's blessed. I'm alive, I'm breathing, so I can't ask for more right now. You get what I'm saying?
Powers, and I'm feeling okay as well. Even though no one asked, I'm feeling good. Yeah. Nah, I'm feeling good. It's been a busy week. You get what I'm trying to say? It's been a very busy week. And we're gonna keep it busy going into the new year. You get what I'm trying to say? Oh yeah, I got some big ups. I want to big up Higher Self Clothing. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm sporting the Higher Self Clothing right now. So big up Higher Self Clothing. Don't know. And big up Standards One. You know what I'm trying to say? These are our sponsors. We're sponsored by Standards One. Men's group, doing men's things, looking to start taking over and implementing certain things within the community. You know what I'm trying to say? All right, so I'm gonna put this mic down. This is the audience mic now. I'm gonna take a seat and let's get our guest introduced. So these are my notes. Yeah, man. All right, so. And can we just check the sound? Are we good with the sound and that, lads?
Check.
Yeah, we're good. All right, saying that, and we're live streaming. We have to make sure everything's patterned. You get me? So today I've got a guest come down all the way from London. A brother called Dean Okai. I didn't want to say his name wrong. He did tell me earlier. And you know what? I'll be honest. Listen, I got the most respect for this brother. I've heard him speak on loads of different platforms, and then we spoke a while ago. I'll be honest, this is a brother that I actually look up to just by what he says and how he talks and the things that he's doing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So I want everyone to just try and take in as much as you can. I've told Rids, man, yo, we need to pick this brother's brain. Yeah, we really need to pick his brain and find out and get some information from him, cause he talks some real shit. I'll be honest. Sorry about my language. That you won't hear no more bad language for the day. Sorry, Mom. Sorry. I apologize. All right, so let me introduce the brother Dean. Everyone give him a round of applause. I beg ya. Yeah? Powers. Set the mic up for you.
Thank you, brother. I feel at home. And mine is also from some limited lived experience.
Uh-huh. Yeah, man. Powers. So how you feeling? How was your trip down and them thing there?
Relaxed. And the reason I came down this evening is the same reason that I speak anywhere, is to convey that when you come back to the singularity, and as I speak, we're going to observe this thing that I call the singularity. Wherever you are, you're relaxed because you're aware of all your options. And the reason that, like what you said, we feel one of our rites of passage is that we have to pass through petty criminality, is because we're not aware of so many of our options. Mm-hmm. And I'll give it to you like this. I had a clothes shop for 11 years. Same 4 staff for 11 years on the high street. And one of my brothers had just come out of a custodial sentence. I took him some clothes from my shop. So you're good, like your peers, as you're back on the road. And we were comparing what we'd done in our businesses in terms of profit. And he's talking about hard food. And I'm talking about what I sell. And there was no comparison. And then we looked at each other and we smiled. Now, his younger brother is a rapper named Coleon in London. So when you're talking about the road, I went to bail him out because with criminal money, you can't go and bail someone out, right? Now, I'm in the Cat A court in Bromley, and he's on a little screen like Caroline in Poltergeist. And all I can see is Coley in the little screen, 8 by 10.
Mad.
I said, he's not getting bailed. I didn't want to say that to my man. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm listening to a barrister who got the case the night before, you know, when they're reading from their notes.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this because I can't even look at my man, and he's saying, he's good, isn't he? And all I'm thinking is, all the judge is waiting for him to do is stop talking before he denies him bail.
I've been in that situation. I've been in that seat. I'll be honest. I've been in that seat.
I just introduce it like this because so many of us go through these rites of passage. And as I speak this evening about sovereignty, about all of our inalienable rights, and all of our options that we may or may not be aware of, because that's a table of mentors and coaches. So I know what I'm saying has the impact based on my 29 plus VAT limited experience of life. So even as this young man came out of jail, he still didn't realize that he had so many wider options. Well, now he's aware of his options. His whole underlings of his label look up to him. Now, I went to school with his 2 older brothers. What comes as a byproduct of that petty criminality as people move up the ranks is loss. Family, time, relationship with children, economics, yards get lost, the material gains get lost, and you've got to look at the cost of that in the long run.
In the long run, trust me.
In the long run. But I finished with that part. I wanted to touch on that first.
That's mad.
Because sometimes we go into the hyperbole of what it should be, what it could be. But I wanted to set it with, that's not necessarily a rites of passage. And now I defer to your wisdom in your questions.
Deep, you know.
It's not deep.
This is why I brought him,
There's
yeah?
nothing that we do. I just want to say this as well, because this is a term that I deplore, deep. Nothing is deep. Every single thing that is functional is simple. And the highest intelligence is base. The lion eats the antelope because his stomach is rumbling. Not because he's jealous, not because he's pretty, but because his stomach is rumbling. And when we obey our nature, and I'm going to bring it back to this, the singularity, not young men over-projecting because they think that's what road should be, and girls like young men who are hot, so then we live up to the thing that you look at, but not knowing that it was never that we had options. Because when we were 7, we had a nature. And where school reduced us down to become part of the machine, we forgot who we were. And the only reason I resonate is because when I speak, man start remember who they are. I'm not teaching them, I'm not rediscovering America for nobody.
Lucky thing we ain't got no gunshots and sound effects, you know, otherwise beer gunshots will be ringing right now. Swear down. Do you know what? Wait there, before we even get into the questions, there's a few things that he touched on. And if you can remember, you could, if you can think of anyone, chime in, Ridsman. But he says that when he looked at the brothers' business where he was doing legal work and the brothers was doing beer road works, there wasn't that much difference. And
No,
I think
there was a difference.
Okay.
There was a big difference.
Okay.
It wasn't in his favor.
All right, safe.
In terms of time,
Yeah.
working,
All right, safe.
or profit margin.
Yeah, 100%.
Or risk.
100%. I mean, I feel like I was talking about the logistics of basically what I was gonna say is
no comparison.
if you can run an operation on the roads, you can run a legal business, and that's what I kind of took from that part of what that little one thing that he
100%.
says. I kind of took if you can run a legal business, you can run a legal business. That's first and foremost. You get what I'm trying to say? And he touched on so much, in fact. So
It's just having the right people around you to make that happen, though, because
Not necessarily.
Talk to me.
I'll tell you my story, and I'm going to make it really brief so that for your questions. So I spent the first 30 years of my life in South London, going in ever-decreasing circles, because how we pick our friends initially is based on locality, right? That's my man because I went to school with him. And my parents divorced when I was 13, and we moved from New Cross, from my family house, to my grandparents in Kennington, South London. So South London is big. There's 32 boroughs in London, and I would take my brothers and sisters from the age of 13 across 3 boroughs to take them to school. Now we take our kids to school in the car, right? And they don't go our place. Or they jump on the bus and it's 2 minutes. When I was 18, because I was a dirty boy and I wanted my freedom, because my mum would say, stop bringing these expletives to my house, I went and took my money and got my own yard at 18.
Yeah.
When I moved into that yard, I got 10 video recorders. I sold pirates and adult videos. I graduated to weed, then stolen goods. 2 years later, that was in 1993. By 1995, Operation Bumblebee, which was an operation for stolen goods, rudely entered my apartment at 25 to 7 in the morning and put me in a cell for 9 hours. I didn't like it. I learned my lesson very quickly. 2 years later to the day, I moved and nobody knew where I laid my head after that. When I moved from South London to Hackney at 30, I went on a different journey. I did everything by myself. I got an office in Bishopsgate, a 1-minute walk from Liverpool Street, had a media business, shooting promos, but then training young people in production. So I realized I could get a grant, which will fund my work, which is a model that we're using today. So you train young people. He's a cameraman. You stand next to him. You learn the trade, editing, sound. Now you are getting trained. We have viable wages for the team, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of you took it from the etheric realm as an idea, and you deliver it in the manifest.
Is my team
to the
listening?
material
My
realm.
team listening? Go on.
So the pattern is made to share. And as we were talking, we have exactly the same ideas and intentions. Now I have a full-time team, which is a media team, and it's just about encapsulating these ideas so that men can get the pattern and just take it and have a system. So does everybody know, just show of hands, the Tower of Babel story, the biblical story, the Tower of Babel? Cool. So the men within the town were building a tower from Babel to heaven. And when they started to get close, Yahweh looked on man and said, not today, you bomber cloud. Bam! Gave all the men different languages. So then they couldn't communicate. That's where the term babbling comes from.
Babylon.
Babbling
Yeah,
comes from the Tower of Babel story,
okay.
because he gave all the men different languages. So now you can't effectively communicate to collaborate. You don't have no system, so you can't pattern, because you're looking at your man and now you're just talking nonsense. So if a 6'5" guy comes in here looking like a woman in a dress, but his man's bigger than mine, some of the men in here may say, well, now we have to say that's a woman. But there's no universal understanding of somebody who has body dysmorphia, which clinical psychology describes as a personality disorder, because we're going in line with what the World Economic Forum says. So if you have 10 men in a room and you ask one singular question, you might get 10 different answers from melanated men, right? So Sigma Carta is about creating common values, common systems, common terms and references for melanated men.
Sorry, do you know what? Because I wanted you to speak about. I was ready. You just.
I don't want to run ahead, so
No,
I'd like to refer to the question.
Because Sigma Carta is, for the people that haven't seen and don't know, Sigma Carta is something that the brothers started up. So just tell us about Sigma Carta and what it actually is.
So I spoke about the singularity. After all the mistakes I've made in life and successes, I closed my shop in 2020 during the pandemic because it was the end of a 10-year lease. I had a temporary 1-year lease, and then I had a 10-year lease. And then you get a rent review every 5 years. And my landlord, during the pandemic, when there's 0 people on the road, decided to put the rent up by 10 grand. So I said, hold your keys. I'll put my things in storage, God bless you. And after 11 years, I was doing different things in terms of community. I set up an organization. I was going around the country and speaking and setting up initiatives and doing youth work as well. So I said, I'm going into another incarnation. And when I went inside, I was also doing an African spiritual course that I did over the course of 3 years. So that shifted me hugely because I came to understand how the system actually works, who we are, and how powerful we are, but more how powerful I am. And I remembered exactly who I am. And I've lived outside of this system for 30 years. And if I've lived outside of this system for 30 years and fared well, and also understanding that in that time, I was getting downloads. So during the pandemic...
Sorry, you might need to explain what you mean by downloads.
So,
just for the layman's.
Spiritual messages that come from your people. I'm a very lazy man, just like most men. We do what's convenient. My shop is here, right across the road from my shop is Lidl. Where do I get my family shopping? Lidl. I went across the road, and I'd normally spend between 60, 80 pounds, and a voice said, buy up the place. So I spent 160 pounds. I don't question my voices anymore. I just obey the command. If it say go left, I go left. If it say go right, I go right. Spent about 260 pounds, boom, took the shopping home. Why have you got all this? Don't worry about it. Let me put it away. And then I spent the next couple of days just spending like 30 quid buying food. Well, when the pandemic licked, I then knew why I bought the food.
Okay.
So I closed the door. I said, I'm going to create a new routine because I'd normally be gone for 10 hours. And I said, now I'm going to set up an organization for us. I will sit at my desk every day, much to the woman's dismay, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So just because I'm at home, it doesn't mean I'm accessible. And then I got to work.
Chat to them.
Having the Zooms and doing all of that work, and then going out and holding my meetings because I wasn't concerned about the virus. I'm aware of the big news stories and the agendas to reduce us again. So in that period, look how many of our inalienable rights were contravened as a byproduct of us wanting to be safe. And now look at the adverse reactions to that experimental drug in hypercancers, blood clots, and everything else that happened. I had no concern of their agenda. That wasn't for me. And then I realized, when I got back to the singularity, which is who I actually am, is I've lived outside this system and I'm fine. And I've always found a way. And then based on coming up to 50, I said it would be very selfish to hold these systems just for yourself. Because sometimes we have community pimps and they want to manipulate people because they know that in our nature we're malleable. And although we don't want a superhero, we'll seek it for a short period because then we can crucify them, right? And if you look on a Will Smith or anybody, it's not that they were superheroes outside of acting, but I'm not capable of accomplishing that. And then the man boxed somebody in their mouth to protect his wife's name, irrespective of whether she's a whatever. And the world turned against him. And I said, well, within that, F the world, save the self, don't concern yourself with the great unwashed.
Motto.
Then it's all about spirit. So now whatever you're doing, the great unwashed is no concern. And when I say the great unwashed, well, who's that then? Well, if you're offended, it's possibly Uno who is offended. Because I don't see nobody in here who's offended. I don't gossip. I don't interested in gossip. Family first, my brotherhood second, and we keep each other. We demonstrate community, whether that's 5 or 6. You see, if there's something to be done, I don't ask, oh, do you need a hand straightening? It's straightening. I gave a talk on Friday, just like this, in a business center. And it was a 16-year-old lady behind it. So when I saw that she was by herself, really, that the other people had gone to get changed and look pretty and didn't come back till 5 o'clock, I took over the event. Do you know why? because we demonstrate, and that's how you know. So when you see these brothers who I won't name saying they want women to submit to them, you say, King, you're not showing them nothing to submit to. Because you don't have to ask.
Real talk when it's, yeah.
If she is safe, if she is catered for, if she is guided, and for whatever your talk and your hyperbole, I will look at you in your face. And in my head, all I'm saying is, I don't have no monkey in that circus. I don't need to get involved.
Yeah, man. Powers. All right, so obviously we're here to talk about the impact of modern culture on the community. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So first of all, let's talk about what we would call modern culture today, especially urban culture, the culture that's pushed on us or by us. Do you get me? So how would you define modern culture, urban culture right now?
I would describe urban culture, and I'm going to correlate this to an offer I was made during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Largely, we are prostitutes, because we're all doing it for the money, right?
Yeah. I probably got the same offer as you, I'm going to be honest.
I was offered 10 grand
Oh, yeah, me too.
to become a COVID champion.
Same amount?
Now, I can't do that. And the duration that I'd closed my shop, I was on my face because I had things in storage. And remember, that's not making money. And what I'm selling online is nothing like having a high street where people walk into your shop. But I couldn't do that based on my morals and principles. So what you're seeing now is whatever agenda they come up with, the prostitutes will do it for the money. And then we just say, I'm doing it for the money, right? So when you see your Hot 97s, you see your breakfast clubs, you see your whoever, and I see men in a studio who have a program that says they want to break up the matriarchal or patriarchal family, and then you have hosts saying, oh, teach us. No, you don't have anything to teach me. All you have is a perspective.
Sorry, so when you say, let's go back a bit.
Yeah, we can break it down.
When we're talking about breaking up the matriarchal, patriarchal family, just what
Exactly
does that mean?
Right. So when we look at the nuclear family of mother, father, children, and you have within their constitution, BLM, that states openly, now this is why they got the money from Soros. It wasn't for the Black Lives Matter. That was a vehicle to use black pain to appeal to us. What the grant was for is to radically shift society, which is what the Soros Foundation, the Open Foundation is about, which was shifting the family. But whose family? The melanated family. So within that, because Black Lives Matter is such a benign statement, of course they matter. So what are we really disagreeing with? So then we jumped on it because it coincided with the events of men being assassinated by the US state. Now within that, their role was to empower alternative lifestyles, which is where all the grant monies were going, to alternative lifestyle organizations.
Okay.
So now, Soros is a man, when you know his power, who almost bankrupted the UK pound sterling in 1991. One man. Do you know how many billions he made creating a put, which is a bet against the pound? The Bank of England was in trouble. That's one man. So then he took 44 billion US dollars and put that into his foundation. People gonna dance for that money, right? So then when you see people like Charlemagne and they put the flag behind, an evolving flag that started out with a rainbow, but then got the colors that represent children, boys, girls, and virgins. We do it for the money, and because the influence is there, and then the artists are told, oh no, don't say anything. Now you evolve into it. And then in the States, they start to promote your sexy reds, and then they're bringing them into schools, and then we catch up, and then the road here starts to respond in a particular way, and globally, because US is always big brother, right? We call this common culture. And because men have largely reduced ourselves through articulation, and you heard it during COVID, oh, the Jabberwocky. We had that,
What's that?
just
What's that?
the jab.
Oh,
Because it was only a jab, because it can't be described as a vaccination. Because a vaccination has a criteria that it will stop the infection. You cannot catch it if you take the thing, or you can't convey it if you have it. That wasn't the case. It's an experimental drug. So let's speak factually and not as children. But we didn't do that. So then we started to reduce ourselves as men. Now, if a man...
Sorry, I want to ask a question. Because don't you feel like us reducing ourselves as men kind of happened, it's been going
Started before
a
that.
long time ago in
It
the sense
started
of,
before that.
in it, just like what you was talking about, not being the father, not playing the father figure roles, not being the men in the community, just not acting as men within the community and doing certain things as men in the community. So I kind of, I just kind of wanted to say, don't you think it kind of started way before then, and yeah.
And even in part of that, because I broke up with the mother of my son, but my experience wasn't comparable with a lot of guys' stories that were telling me they couldn't see their kids or this or that. So when he was at my ex's, I would go and bathe him there and take him to school from there, if she had him.
Yeah.
I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I did that for 3 years, to bathe him there and make him breakfast there and take him to school. But then there's something in us that if we grow in a single parent household, I'm just going to take a consensus. Is it widely known, is it widely agreed that women are slightly more emotional than men? Slightly, okay.
Not
cool.
slightly, but
We're being diplomatic.
All right, go on.
Okay.
Go on.
So if women are slightly more emotional than men, and we are raised by mothers, there's a point where we as men need to understand that we can't react as emotionally as women. Now, if nobody taught us to step objectively and stand outside of our thoughts, to observe our thoughts, for us not to respond in the same way, we would realize as men there are greater consequences when we are emotional as the stable component of the house. So saying, I did this and I did that, like there's a cape. It's not for that. We need to adopt systems where we can universally come in a room and say, sometimes a woman will say what she thinks before she thinks about what she's saying. But if you do that as a man, there's greater consequences. It's received in a very different way. It holds weight. Because you hold weight even when she's telling you you don't hold no weight. Don't worry about that. When you give your partner her medicine and she's looking at you smiling, you hold weight. We have power. We're protectors, we're providers, and we're different. We don't have the same role. We are equal but different.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, very
So,
different.
do you know what? I was gonna ask you. So, do you think a big problem? Do you think a big problem within our community is that us as men are not operating as men anymore, or we're not? There's. Give it the right. What do you think around this? Because that's kind of what I'm taking from what you're saying.
110%.
So yeah. So talk a bit more about that, and then what should we be doing? What are we not doing, and what should we be doing?
So first of all, let's look at what works.
Okay.
And let's look at what works the vast majority of the time, functionally. So when we talk about a family that has a mother and father in the house, it does two things. It demonstrates how a man should treat when they're functional, as opposed to there being domestic violence and upset. It teaches boys and girls how they should be within relationships, and a girl gets to see how a man should treat her, and a boy gets to see how a woman should treat him. Functional. 2, in the division of tasks between work and looking after the children, there is space in a two-parent household for this to take place. Because everything afterwards becomes difficult. So now if I leave the house as a man, I've got to deal with my yard, but then I've also got to deal with that yard financially. It's hard work. What we aren't necessarily doing as men when we're regulating ourselves for society is regulating ourselves where we're supposed to regulate ourselves within our relationships.
Okay. Give me.
Because are we seeing the consequences there? Because if we make it a normality that we separate, then there's no real consequence, right? Whereas in society, if I open my mouth in the wrong way and I see a man get stripped down, I don't want that to happen to me. So I'm going to be cool as a fan, right? And if you say this 6'5" man with hands the size of my back is a woman, she's a woman. Mine was to improve my articulation so I can tell you technically, and then you can't do me nothing. So we're not regulating ourselves where we need to as men to understand.
Can I just ask a
Please.
question on that then? So I know you said obviously to grow up in a household with a mother and father, but you know in this generation it's hard to come by. It's very hard to come by. So what's the solution because we haven't got that, and you know it's probably not going to get any better than it is right now?
It won't if we don't address it and we don't start to put systems in place. So when I talk about systems, I don't want to talk about individuals because it doesn't mean anything. There's no point in pointing to people who do something very well. It's irrelevant. That day is done. What we've got to start doing is creating systems that we can agree universally work. Now, irrespective of our feelings, if something works, it works, right? Now, how many of us, when we're dealing with romantic relationships, actually deal with any council of elders or advisors? It's rare, right?
Yeah, it is.
We get hot body, we start a relationship, then we decide that we want to be with them. But if we don't start out in a particular way and we don't explore what our values are that we're moving towards, the likelihood of there being cohesion when it's required, when we have a little breakdown in communication, the likelihood is slim. You understand?
Yeah.
So when we talk about systems, do you have any counsel outside of your relationship that is reliable who can demonstrate a functional relationship that you can go to for advice? Not your single brethren who's going to tell you bonding. Because your single brethren needs company on a side.
Say that again. Hold on. Say that again. Chat to them.
But we know it. It's our experience. We know it. And even they aren't doing it intentionally. It's just that if you give somebody an inroad to your relationship, they feel they have a valid opinion. Now, were you even supposed to be speaking on your relationship in certain environments? But we do it based on emotion. And all of that goes back to where we were reduced, because we are trained to seek external validation in school. Because if you're a good boy, you get a gold star. Go put that on the star chart. Now, if you are too obtuse for your class, and you ask questions that make people uncomfortable, go outside. Do you know how I know? I spend the whole of my school outside. So now, if you're being conditioned to seek external validation, that external validation remains in you at a DNA level. So even me, in my finite wisdom, has to check myself on a daily basis. Am I really getting embroiled? In the opinion of the great
I think that's a good point, because in terms of modern culture, it is based on validation. It's based on validation. Like people don't really care. It's just the validation that they get from whatever they're doing. If you look at social media and stuff like that, so it's a big.
That is the key right there, social media. I was waiting for someone to say it, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a big point because that's what it's all about, getting validation, like putting yourself out there in a way that's going to allow you to get numbers, views, likes. And do you know what? So, and you can talk about this. It's mad because it's having a big impact on our children, fam. Like I speak to my children a lot, blood, and there'll be times where they'll say to me, "Oh, Dad, I posted this video and I got like 100 likes. That's so, like, it is, you don't understand. It's a massive thing for our children, blood. So, and do you know what I think? And I think, blood, is this what you think is an achievement? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So I want to ask, how do we minimize that? How do we deal with that? And how do we talk? Like, when my children's telling me that, and I'm thinking it in my head, sometimes I say it and sometimes I don't. But like, what can I do as a father then to really make them know in their head, or give them that feeling that it doesn't even matter?
We're the demonstration. So when you're talking about your kids, my son is 16. We took my son out of school when he was 7 due to teacher bullying. So there was a case of teacher bullying, and I said to his mum, now herein lies the thing as well, so I digress. Let me go right back. So whenever there was an issue at the school, I went with his mum, and his mum was confident to let me lead. She don't need to say word one when we go to that school. And we're not together, and we go to the school.
That's big, that is. That's big. Pete, I hope everyone's listening. If we're live streaming, I hope everyone's listening at home. I want you to say that one more time, please. I beg you, because I think that's a big problem in the community. And
the school know we're not together, because I'm not in any face, and I really don't care what you think of me. I never raise under your armpit, and you don't solve one of my problems. And one thing about being a man who don't have to listen to nobody, and this is my definition of freedom, is when you can solve every single one of your own problems, you don't have to listen to no man, woman, or child, but it's pertinent to listen to those who have solutions that you don't. So when we would go to the school, I would lead. She know that she's protected and my son is protected. So because I will go there, and this time I own a suit shop, I'm going there in a different suit every time. They know I wasn't nobody to play with. If you play with Godzuki, you get Godzilla. And you know that. And because I speak properly and I don't shout, when I'm mad, I get really quiet. And then you start getting nervous. So they thought they could play a game around, what do you call it? Truancy. When he was 5 minutes late. So then they called a truancy officer. So we both went down there, and they said, you know, this truancy is going to go on his permanent record. Ooh, his criminal record, his employment record, which one? I said, this is ridiculous. This appears to be a waste of our time. I look at my ex. I said, I'm leaving. Are you staying? She said no, and we got up and we left. That don't have any power. So then they tried to transfer it to my son. We downloaded the statutory letter from the local authority to take him out of school, put it in an envelope, posted it. Then I went to pick him up from school. I said, super, show me the teacher. No, Dad, no, super. Because he's seen what I did before. So when he had teacher bullying before, I put him in every after-school club that he wanted to belong to. So he was in a science club, martial arts, and drama. When he was in the science club, he had an experiment. It's supposed to pop, little explosion. And he asked the teacher why it didn't explode. And she said, because you talk too much, and that's why people don't want to sit with you. I said, oh, cool. I went and picked him up, addressed the teacher with some little passive aggression. I wouldn't say that. I said, you're lying. I put my hand on my son's shoulders. I said, look at your teacher lie about you in front of you, super. And he's looking at her. She, I would, and when she came down the stairs, every time I picked him up from that, her head turned to the side. I'm thinking, don't trip, heifer. Our children ain't nobody to play with, but we've been conditioned that there are authorities in the land that are greater than us. So,
very important. Very important to understand as parents. I'm sorry, but
no, you're right.
And you know why as well? I gotta come in because I've been having this conversation with someone else, a young lady that's having she's having problems with her child's school and that, and I had to let her know, like, because I say the same thing, like, yo, listen, I've told this, my children's teachers, like, yo, you see, in my child's life, I am the highest authority. Like, it's not you guys. And a lot of mothers or parents, mothers on their own or parents in general, kind of give the schools that authority, like they're the highest authority. And it's very important for us as parents to know that we are the highest authority in our children's life, and we need to act that way.
110%.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? So sorry, but I just needed to get
No,
that.
you're not
'cause
cutting
it's
me.
very
You're
important.
reaffirming it.
Very important, fam.
And do you know it goes all the way back to when my son was born? Because we made a decision that he's not having any vaccinations, his body's not going to be interrupted in any part. So I was 33 when my son was born. And the doctor comes and says, you have to. So first of all, before he was born, we go back to the hospital he was supposed to be born at. There's a hospital that we call Killikel, Northwick Park. 10 African and African Caribbean women had died on the wards within 12 months in childbirth.
Mad.
So I've gone with my son's mum, when we're together, and I said, this is just a courtesy to let you know we're not going to have our child here. The doctor's looking at me like I'm a picnic, and he's laughing at me. You will. So I'm looking at him. Okay. I said, this is to let you know, because we're not going to waste the spot. So we're letting you know our child isn't going to be birthed here. And he had an apprentice with him, young lady. So I have something I call the jailhouse hustle that I used to do with young men when I was younger. I get them in a comfort zone and I'm laughing and joking. Then I ask them a serious question when I know they got no room for creative thought. So I'm playing with them, flirting and laughing. And then I say, would you have your child here? I said, exactly. That's why we're not having our child here. So then we found a birthing center, but due to blood complications, we found a better hospital. Now, within that hospital, my son is born, and were he at that hospital, he would 100% not be here. So then they come, right, it's time for the vaccination. No, it's not. You have to. I have to. Are you asking me? Are you telling me, asking me nicely, or begging me? I'm telling you, you're not capable of telling me nothing. Okay, I'm going to get the doctor. You do that, you scheming. Then the doctor comes. You have to. No, I don't. And you are not capable of contravening any one of my inalienable rights. This is our son, and we've made a decision. So you can do one of two things. Either we're going to leave, and you don't have to sign us out, or you're going to sign us out. So they come with a gun test for the ear. I said, what's that for? Oh, it's for us. I said, nobody cares about you. You're not putting that in my son's ear. Then the vitamin K, oh, he needs it. No, breast milk. We've been doing this for 10,000 years. We're good. But you have to. No, I don't. Cool, we'll leave him. Oh, no, we'll sign you out. They sign us out. Then the health worker comes.
Go on.
CMT. You have to. How much rent you pay about here? What do you mean? How much rent do you pay in this house? So you are no authority in this premises.
Yeah, it's mad.
Simple.
Joe, I'm going to ask one more question, yeah, and then and you know what, we're going to have a break, but it's getting on, so we'll just open the floor, because I really want to get everyone involved in the discussion and speaking about the impact of this culture and how we can, because what I really want to start doing is looking at what we can do as parents, because I know the culture's, fam, it's taking our children right now. We've got the culture. The culture's taking our youth, fam, and we've got a lot of parents in the building, so I kind of want to get everyone involved and start speaking about how we as parents can start to either limit the impact the culture has on our children or change the culture. But why did you decide, when you was having your child, why did you decide to take that path?
Okay. So I haven't had a doctor, a dentist, or taken any prescription drug since the year 2000. And I'm aware that if you take radical self-accountability for you, ultimately, you'll be fine.
What's that? Explain what radical explain that for me, please, quick.
Radical self-accountability. I developed, me and my brother used to have something we call zombie protocols. We say, if this went dark, it would take about 3 days and there's nothing else here, we can rely on me and my brother. So when I moved out of South London, me and my brother moved to Hackney. We got a flat together. And we used to practice this thing, zombie protocols, which means we can strip everything down to basics, have a go bag, and be good. And we don't rely on nobody else. I didn't take any prescription drug. If I ever had a headache, which I will possibly get once a year because I'm so dehydrated from working, I don't get sick. I don't have no doctor, no dentist. I don't take no drug. I don't get sick. I do drink rum. That is a one medicine, and I don't get any sickness.
So why do you think that is? What do you do to ensure? Because I heard you use the terminology, but I'm not sure what.
Radical self-accountability.
Okay,
so
there you go.
I know that I'm responsible for taking care of my body. So that means that I must train enough to be robust and sustainable, to keep this vehicle that has my lifeblood, my ancestors, and my consciousness, because me, who is Dean Okai, doesn't live in this body. Just like if you bust open the radio, there's no band playing in the radio. It's a frequency, right? Now, because I'm aware of that, this is why I can step objectively outside of my thoughts when they don't benefit me.
Very powerful. Say that again, because that's a powerful thing.
Entities being emitted at us that we can either take on or we can leave alone. We have options. Exposure leads to expansion, and the more we become aware of our options, the more we can take advantage of those options. So with the level of awareness that I have, I know I'm always going to be fine. And then ultimately, I'm only responsible for one more person on this planet, which is Dean Okai Jr. Now, I can convey what I know to other men so that men have these tools and are just aware. And then we have options to adopt or not. But within Sigma Carta, there's a system that I call agree, adopt, apply. It's no more complicated than that. So if you show me something that is a solution, tomorrow I'm going to involve that solution in my routine of my day, every day, until I adopt it as a pattern. With it, yeah.
Yeah, man.
And whenever I had any lack, I will put myself next to a man who has, and I will adopt what they have that is a solution, so that the strings to my bow were wide. And then I find that before too long, making incremental progress on a daily basis, I can solve all of my own problems.
Powers. Yeah, man. All right, we're gonna have a 2-minute break because I need the toilet, and then we're bringing everyone else in. But that's very important. A lot of people ask me, or a lot of people were shocked, and a lot of people didn't believe, yo, Zim's changed. You know, Zim's made these changes.
Evolved.
Yeah, I've evolved, and I'll be honest.
Because the darkness is still there.
Yeah, 100%.
But you control it.
Oh, the monster's there. The monster is. Where's the man? The man didn't know the monster's still there. You know what I'm saying? But the beast is controlled. But exactly what you was explaining, where people, how did you do it? That's how I did it.
Yeah.
I learnt new mechanisms, new rules, new laws, and implemented them and practiced them until they became habits.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a thought that I need to keep practicing to have, and then it becomes a habit. Whether it's an action. You know what I'm trying to say? And it becomes a habit. So I just wanted to, for people that kind of, a lot of people ask, yo, how did you do it? Did he even change? Or like, that's how I did it. Like we evolved. We didn't, we evolved. And that is exactly how, you know what I'm trying to say? So
we don't really change because the dark voices are
still there. Oh, yeah.
But I just want to say one thing as well that I did before we run to a break.
Go on.
And it's that when I was single for 2 years, between my son's mum, not really running out so frequently for my physical needs, I would listen to materials, spiritual.
Oh, yeah.
And just different knowledge bases. And over the course of 2 years, I totally rewired my subconscious mind. So synaptics that weren't connected became connected. And how I knew that it was powerful is because I had a business. So my problem-solving skills went through the roof in that I was able to provide for my seed, my mum, and my sister when she needed it, and run my business, and be good,
Yeah, I've heard
and
you
have
say
a bottle
this.
of rum.
I've heard you speak on this.
So part of that Sigma Carta system is these materials for young men and just men in general to listen to at night to rewire our subconscious minds to get beyond where we were programmed by this system and program ourselves to be to our benefit as opposed to our detriment.
We call it
It's very
deprogram
important.
and reprogram. I've been saying it for
Unlearn
the
and relearn.
I've been saying it for the longest. Deprogram and reprogram.
110%.
And that's exactly, he's explained it.
Because they gave us malware, and if we have malware on our computer hard drive, we would apply an antivirus, because it affects everything. Our money, our relationships, how we share our information, access to our information. It's dangerous.
Yeah, man. All right, Powers.
Ready for a break?
Quick toilet break. Everyone grab a hot drink. We're going to take 2 minutes. I'm going to play one tune and we're going to keep it moving. Powers. For the people at home that's watching the live stream or the people that's going to watch the recorded thing, yeah, I'll come back with my coat on because the heating is mad in here. It's cold.
Cold.
So I'll come back with my coat on, you get me? It's mad. Alright, people, are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? All right, let's go. Let's go. Thank you for everyone for taking the time out to listen and them thing there. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, we're going to get some involvement. We want some involvement. So, first of all, what do you, hold on, first of all, Ridsman, what are your thoughts so far in terms of what you've heard and then in terms of the topic in general?
So the topic in general for me is...
Make sure you talk up. Make sure you talk up.
Hello, check.
Yeah.
Can we get a mic turn up?
Now you're good,
We're
you're good,
We're
you're good.
Yeah. So in general for me, it's one of those tricky ones because for me, like I was just explaining to Dean, like where I come from and how I articulate things is very street based. It's from the street. So when I hear people speak like Dean, it's different to me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. I am very intelligent. I'm not stupid whatsoever. I know my things, but I come from a different level. So I'm more intrigued. That's why I didn't ask you so many.
You don't come from a different level.
Well,
It's a perception.
Yeah,
okay,
you feel, because even I'm in the same boat as you when it comes to my man. Like,
so it's a perception, but for me, I'm more intrigued at how you're speaking, and I'm trying to take in how you're speaking and what you're saying at the same time. So for me, it's a process. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, I'm more of a reflective person. I'll go home tonight and I'll sit down and think about everything that he's saying, and then I'll have something to say. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I can get involved, but I'm more listening and trying to take it in. But as a whole, solutions is something that isn't going to come overnight. We can have 100 different meetings and 100 different things have been said and 100 different things still ain't being done. Do you know what I'm saying? So
100%.
to hear someone like you speak, I'm very intrigued. So I'm just listening.
And I'll tell you why I evolve my vocabulary every day.
do you know what? Sorry, that heat has got to come off, you know. Yeah, it's mad. Sorry, people. It's all got to come off. I can't work like this. I apologize. I can't work like this. We only got half an hour left anyway. We got till 9 o'clock or just so, and then we go. Yeah, the guys have got the good idea. They're out to buy the small heaters. Go on, sorry.
There's a reason, and I talk about making incremental progress every day, but there's a reason I increase my vocabulary every day. And it was that if I'm an advocate and I go to Parliament or I'm going to New Scotland Yard, how do I advocate for people and have any level of frustration when I'm talking and can't convey what people need? It doesn't make sense. I'm not qualified to be in a position. So I'm going to speak about one thing. When you are spiritually elevating, and this is any of us, it's not a male or a female thing, we go through certain pain and we experience certain loss.
100%.
And that loss and pain is called salting. Universe, the higher consciousness, God, whatever your term, your spirituality, it doesn't matter. You could be a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, agnostic. As you start to spiritually evolve, you go and go through it because you're actually being cut into who you're supposed to be on the floor that you desire to operate at. And once you understand that it's normal, it's no longer painful. Because now you know. Just like if you were in the army, they have something in the Marines where they carve out this little mud hut and you have to crawl through water and mud, it's like it's like 10 meters, 30 foot. But while you're doing that, you feel like you're gonna die, right? But imagine the ilk of man who comes out the other side of that. So you're salting, as you're going through this pain, as you're losing things, people, because I haven't really touched on spirituality, but these are universal principles. So if I speak about the law of reciprocity, that you get what you are, it's the same way we can't see it. You can't beat the law of gravity, you know. Try to get from that roof to that roof with no ladder and you try to walk. I've got a spoon to scoop you up. But it's tangible, right? All of these universal laws are going down in Chinatown, irrespective of what you understand. So that salting is qualifying you for the floor that you want to operate in your purpose. And the singularity that you come back to within you is discovering your purpose. Why am I here? For more than just me, what is my purpose for others? So there's nobody in here who wouldn't take £1 million if he's going. So now, if you want that, how many do you have to serve for the universal laws of reciprocity to kick in for you to be qualified, not only to get it, but to retain it? So spirituality is a bigger part, because when we talk about things like being sovereign, it's not just the knowledge, because knowledge isn't power, it's the application. You make a spiritual decision. Somebody, you know, there's nobody that is going to tell me from this day forward what to do. Yet still, I don't desire to rape, murder, or steal. Because I have a value and a moral compass that just says that I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm good under my own auspices as a man. Now, once you understand that, you might be attracted to becoming a lifelong student. Because nothing stops, right? Imagine if I had a qualification before lockdown, and then all these careers I just made totally benign and irrelevant. And you decided, I've got my university degree, and this, that don't mean nothing. So now look, you're redundant, you're by the wayside. What's gonna set in? A man who doesn't know his purpose, depression. See, you ask why men have £1 million and they have a beautiful woman, a nice handbag, I get that. But why is he depressed? Because he has no purpose. A man without direction for why he is here is a hollow man. So you could have, appearing to the naked eye, nothing, and be full. Because the hole in our chest, called desire, is bottomless. All you can do is turn down the volume by applying purpose. That's the singularity when you come back to yourself. Once you realize that, everything else and everybody else becomes transparent because it's guided by spirit. So no matter what people look like, presentation, no matter, you're going to see the DNA. You ain't going to see zeros and ones. You're going to see Neo flying. And it's a decision. It's nothing more than a decision. And once you make that decision, you will invest in that decision. And that decision is you. And then who would you allow to interrupt that if you've made that investment in you? From a spiritual perspective. Because everything else is possible now. So since we're all adults in here, I'm going to give a crude example. Forgive me, I'm young enough to recover from your opinion. If I see a juicy looking lady, my man don't defy 45 degrees because I looked at her. It's because I use my imagination, because I'm a dirty old man, and my emotions kicked in and my man stood up.
There's a lot of us like that.
This is when you transmute your energy applied to everything. There is a formula for inevitability that I realized when I separated from a house, that there was confusion and argument and all of that. It is your intention times your desire times Because sometimes we just trying and it don't work, right? We're trying and it don't work. And we say, why the Rouse won't this thing work? Because I've seen other people do it and it works. The third component is a high emotional frequency. Now, if you're in a house and there's confusion, if you're surrounded by your peers and there's confusion, and you can't realize the high emotional frequency, it's the component that is missing from creating an inevitable outcome. So now, every single thing that I desire to do works, bar nothing. I'm going to give you something. This is my spell book. You see in there, I used the 4-color pen. I'm not Harry Potter, but that's my wand. 4-color pen, yeah? Poundland. That's a £2 investment. I'm worth it. Okay. Anything I write in that book is going to happen. Anything I write in that book is going to happen by the date that I say it, because I'm highly intentional. So when I look back on the predecessor to this book with my team, and I said, I wrote down 2 months ago that I'm going to have a very effective team, and I had 4 quadrants for what that team looked like. Creation, investigation, pre-production, and execution. I said, I hit that. Are we not sitting in the room? You see the library of what we've recorded in terms of this intellectual capital and all of the shows we've created with similarly intelligent peers to give the system to men to provide that for their family and their community. When you become intentional and you start to record it, it's power. And you won't allow anybody to interrupt that. You're going to start to become very selfish with your intellectual capital. Now, there's people who might have come and said to me, I've got £500 or £1,000, can you come down to my thing? I wouldn't have come and I wouldn't have said one word, because there's no value there, and I know it's for optics. But you see where there's value, where it can be impactful, it's worth being there. Because something can happen.
Yeah, man, powers. Do you know what? You see, what he's explaining, I do that.
I know.
Like, my team will tell you, if I say this is going to happen, it happens. Because, I put a vision in my head, and I work to put my head down, and I work towards it, and ain't nothing stopping until it's done. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I want to open the floor. So in terms of, we got the mics. So in terms of, guys, what you've heard, if you've got any questions or even just want to comment on some things that you've heard, let us know. And then let's do that first. We're going to Mercy at the back first. We're going to do that first, and then we're going to try and get into that conversation of culture and impact.
Hi, would you prefer me to stand up?
Oh yeah, please do. Please do.
So there's quite a few things, and I'll try and keep it as succinct as possible. But
do your thing, man. Go.
So first of all, I would just like to say that I think the conversation it lacks focus, and the reason I believe that is because we haven't defined what culture is.
Absolutely.
So we don't have a clear linchpin definition for us to actually have a productive conversation.
I concur.
I would also say, sorry, I've been taking notes.
Go.
So, and this might be controversial, but I do take slight issue with the fact that we are here to discuss the building of culture and to kind of critique the impact of modern culture on our youth, but we've got a panel of 3 men. So how can we, competently discuss culture and our youth when actually, as you accurately said, it takes a community, and women are fundamental and we are a part of that. So unfortunately, actually this panel alone is reinforcing the ideology that we are divided as a people, and is reinforcing this ideology that women are not needed in the conversations when we are. Not only are we integral, we are the beginning. We are the alpha of that conversation. So that's one thing I needed to say right at the beginning.
No contest.
Another thing I've got to say is, you know, I would argue, and this is something that I had to really reconcile within myself, that as West Indian people, and I can only speak from that perspective as a person of Caribbean heritage, we cling to things in the hope that it is culture, but actually we are emperors in new clothes. We don't actually have culture because that was stripped of us. And so how can we challenge culture and challenge the things like TikTok or social media when we have got nothing to ground our young people? So TikTok has replaced what for my generation was the road. You spoke about, your opening statement was about rites of passage, and that going to jail was a rite of passage.
No.
Oh, no.
And I don't want to cut you,
Okay.
but because you touched on a very important thing, which was rites of passage, which is where I meant to go in my unfocused, confused and tied up wool. Why does the wool always get knotted? Rites of passage is the common linchpin that we actually require as boys and girls, in the same way that any other culture goes through it, the same way that young Yiddish people would go through a bar mitzvah. But what I said is a rites of passage by way of default, not by design, is that we go through petty criminality. I didn't say jail, because lots of guys don't go to jail.
Okay.
But there's a huge percentage of us that pass through petty criminality as teenagers, which is really where it should stop, but some stay.
Well, I would suggest it shouldn't go there in the first place.
It shouldn't go there in
And
the first place, that was the point.
And yeah, so, you know, I'm just sort of trying to sort of expand on that. The reason that is a kind of rite of passage by default, not by design, is because we don't have a culture by design. And that is what we need to be working on.
One other interjection I just want to say, and it's important just because you're bringing it up, and this is down to awareness, because I've worked with 6 rites of passage organizations in London, and every time I come across parents who may not have a functional relationship with the child and the problems at school, they'll say there's nothing for them. And there is. And there are systems and these organizations. It's awareness. Awareness is key. So we're obviously not talking enough. And like every 4 weeks or so, I'll put all of these organizations with the links to the organizations. And someone on social media will ask me, where are they? You push the link?
No, I agree. However, what you mentioned was a bar mitzvah. In Jewish culture, you don't have to go on social media to know what the rites of passage are. They are embedded in the culture. What we're talking about is organizations that are trying to establish something. But what we also have to acknowledge...
I've got to stop you. We're not talking about organizations. We're talking about organizations that are 20 years deep, that will have 100 people in the room. It's not a universal diaspora system for us. I concur in that.
So that's what I'm saying. We don't have systems. So when you spoke about...
You've got to stop saying that.
But we don't.
We don't have awareness of the systems that exist.
Okay, so in your
we don't
conversation...
have a mass awareness.
Okay, so in your conversation, and I will try to finish, is that I didn't get any insight into any widespread rituals, practices, traditions that exist within the diaspora of Black people, particularly people of Caribbean heritage. So, and you mentioned, when you're trying to court somebody, we just go with lust. Those are the systems that are embedded in culture. And so all of those things, the lack of culture leads to the breakdown of family because there's no foundation. We're not seeking sort of insight from our old elders. We're not thinking about, can I build with this person? We're not looking at the right things. I was just making a joke with my friend. When you're just looking at someone like, do I like his trainers? Those are the type of things that we see as priorities because there are no traditions, there are no systems. And then when things do start to go wrong within relationships, there are no systems to challenge that. Mm-hmm. So a man can walk away from his family without the community challenging it. And that is part of the fact that we don't have a culture, a widespread system of culture. But there's some other things I want to say.
Oh, then you can. I just want to, I want to comment. First of all, in terms of the conversation, the first thing you mentioned, I'm going to take responsibility.
No, I also
No, wait.
got to take
Oh,
responsibility
no, wait
for
there.
myself.
I'm going to take responsibility for that because I'm the host, so I'm really supposed to guide the conversation, and maybe.
And I was ragged.
Maybe I just got too sucked into listening. And
I
just
defer to your wisdom.
So I'll be honest, that's my fault because really I'm supposed to kind of bring it back into the conversation and really dig in. So I kind of got zoned in and just started listening and just allowed him to speak. So
I was reckless.
I'm gonna take responsibility for that.
Appreciate it.
Also, in terms of culture, like we do have a culture, but let me finish. We do have a culture, but our culture's messed up. That's the reality because what culture is basically a way of operating, a way of doing things. Now we do have a way of doing things, but it is so messed up. It's like we can't even say that this is our culture or this is the culture. It's just that what we did have as a culture has been destroyed and been replaced with chaos, consumerism, sexualization, and all the rest of it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that is the actual culture. It's
But,
just that.
do you know, there's one point, and I often say this, specifically talking about Caribbean people. And when our grandparents came over here, they came over here married. They came over here, they kept partners, which means there was trust in the community. They purchased freeholds with no debt. And within one generation, we were criminalized. We went to single parent families. We had riots. And we adopted things as a byproduct of trying to assimilate that were totally devoid of that initial culture that we established when we came here, where we could cut each other's hair at our yards, mind each other's children, chastise each other's children, purchase yards with what today they would call microfinance, was a partner, and that was cultural banking. And we gave up all of that to fit in. So when I talk about radical accountability, we can't talk about what was taken away from us because we gave it up to fit in. And if we can start there, we can start on a common ground.
Powers. All right, I'm going to say another thing, just for one thing that you says, because, you mentioned about us, there's 3 men on the thingy. We do have women in the audience, so that's how we was going to bring the women in. But then you spoke about there's no young people on the panel in terms of how it impacts young people. And I'm gonna be totally honest in terms of my perspective. Young people ain't got a clue in terms of how they don't know how it impacts them.
I think you misunderstood. I don't think I was saying that. What I was trying to say was we, as men and women, as the parents, have to be in conversation with each other and bring both perspectives, because there was a comment made that I take deep and great issue with.
What was the comment?
That women are emotional, and as such, it makes it challenging for us to kind of lead a household. And what I would
Nobody
say...
said that.
It was worse to those...
I said, can we agree that women are slightly more
emotional
than
than
men?
men.
What was the follow-up of that?
But the reality is...
No. I'm just asking, where did that lead to so that I can make sure that I'm arguing the right
I'll tell you
point?
exactly where it went to. I said that if a woman says something without thinking about it, it has deeper ramifications that are more serious. If we as men react by saying something without thinking about it. I said, so as a frame within a house, because a man has to hold his frame. You see, a man is physically stronger, and when a man, because he is more physically dominant, loses his composure, there are deeper ramifications than if a woman does. If a man can stay composed within that time, and a woman doesn't, it doesn't have to be so detrimental. And that's exactly what was conveyed.
Okay, so what I would like to suggest is that men are equally, if not more so, emotional.
They have become so as a byproduct
I would still
of
challenge.
acting
I would
like-
still challenge that, because later on you went on when you were speaking about spirituality to talk about having an emotional. I wrote it down, but having an emotional frequency. That's how you reach your kind of higher spiritual self. So the idea is that to be a fully rounded spiritual being, you do need to be able to tap into your emotional aspects. The problem is, a lot of men, particularly black men, go for low-hanging fruit, which is there's one emotion that black men don't have any issue conveying and are never really condemned for conveying, which is anger, and that is a low-hanging fruit. So what you find is all emotions, they experience them, they feel them, but they manifest as anger. A black man is embarrassed, he's going to pop off. A black man's disappointed in something, he's angry. A black man feels disempowered, he's angry. And so actually, it's not that they don't feel the range of emotions, it's that they're not given the space or the freedom to express those emotions. And so it's not that women are more emotionally diverse, it's that we hold space for one another so that we can express those emotions. And so that's why I've got an issue with that, because actually, if we don't speak in these kind of binary terms, black men might be able to express those emotions, become more emotionally evolved, in turn helping to keep the family together. And because we've lost our way as a people, we don't know who we are, we cannot spiritually evolve. And because we can't spiritually evolve, we will never evolve in the manifest world, because spiritually we can't step into our purpose, we can't reach our higher selves, we can't actually manifest all the things we want for ourselves, because spiritually we're bankrupt. And so I think that is where
110%.
we need to re-establish and find out who we are, so that all the things that you speak about can happen, but that can only happen when we're honest with ourselves and have open conversations that enable us to actually push each other to see there's a spectrum and there's a range, and actually men are emotional, they're allowed to be emotional, and when we come together and can hold space for each other as men and women emotionally, then we can grow as a people, and we can give our children the tools that they need.
Can I interject?
I just want to make one
Go
point.
on.
I think you misconstrued when I said emotional. I said if we react to negative emotion without thinking and speak, didn't say we're not emotional. Of course men have emotions. This is why men end their lives, because we are deeply emotional. We just don't get to convey it. The point I was making is, with radical self-accountability, men need to maintain composure. We can't match the emotional frequency if you are angry or you lose it. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing is going to happen if you lose your rag. I was saying if we defer to anger by reacting to your emotion, something will happen.
Yeah, I just want to say to the lads, anyone listening, yo, we can't be emotional, lads. You
No, it's
cannot.
not.
No,
You've got to listen to what she's saying as well, to understand the nuance within it.
I was
'cause
listening,
there's
but this
nuance.
is obviously I'm coming back, lads.
Yeah.
We cannot be emotional, because when you get emotional and you act based on your emotions, either you're gonna go to jail or you're gonna kill someone, and that's my reality.
Yes.
Because what I'm saying is,
But-
I didn't say anything about acting. I said about feeling, and the two things are very.
As human beings, we feel.
Yeah, but that's the point. But when you can acknowledge what you're feeling,
And
you can control it.
Absolutely.
Because what happens is, as we have got so many kind of pathologies in our community,
Absolutely.
we don't know how to recognize, articulate what we're feeling, so then the feeling controls us. If you can't name the thing is in control
100%.
of you. If you can't face the thing, that thing is controlling you. And so that's what's happening. We've got a generation of young men who are being controlled by their emotion, even if that emotion is controlling them to shut their mouth. And then they hold it in to the point where
explode.
the beast explodes. You mentioned
Absolutely.
the beast earlier, and then you go jail. Or
Yeah.
you internalize that pain and men start killing themselves. That's why the suicide rate of men is so much higher. So I really need to double down on that point. If you do not face it and you cannot articulate it and you cannot admit it, that thing has got power over you. And that is why so many issues exist in our community, because we do not allow people to admit, I'm sad, I'm feeling something, I'm going through this, I'm on my face, this is what's going on. Actually, we all go through it. It's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
But we
And
could
that's what helps
articulate
you with
that
your spiritual
particular
growth, as Dean said earlier. That's what helps the elevation. We can't elevate if we can't admit the things that are part of our spiritual journey.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Powers. I was just going to say, just so this is based on that for the lads. You have to have people around you, or a
Accountability
group
partners.
a group of men
Accountability.
around you that it's exactly what he said. First of all, that will hold you accountable for your actions, but then also men that you can talk to and tell them how you truly feel. And man, because sometimes I'll be honest, a man phoned me the other day. A man phoned me the other day crying on the phone because of gal. And you know what? I backed him up. I'll be honest, I didn't give him all. I backed him up. I said, what you doing? Bro, fix up. I backed him up and he said, oh, Zim, thank you. Because he phoned me, because that's what I'll be honest, he phoned me because that's what he needed. He needed to get like a box in his face, even though he's through the phone, to say, mate, fix up. What are you crying for? Sort yourself out. This is not how you're supposed to act as a man. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And I think as men, sometimes, we definitely need that blood. Otherwise, we'll go into depression and this and that, and you try and baby, it's not about, I don't think as men we should be babied. That's just my perception. As men, we should not be babied. We need to fix up, straighten up, because we've got things to do. And
we have a generation of grown boys who've been babied, which is why we feel that we can circumvent.
And sorry, before that as well, can we define men? Because where has your understanding of what a man is come from? Where has that come from? You guys seem to be in agreement of the understanding of what a man is, but
we haven't. The thing is, we haven't spoke about it. So
no, but you seem to be of the same school of thought. Where is that coming from?
Lady, and she understands that what's known doesn't need to be spoken, so it needs to be spoken. So we will speak on the definition of a man. So when we talk about being a protector, provider, and when we talk about being a protector, that isn't just physical protection, that is also emotional protection. Because as our women and children go out into the world, they require that, our counsel, our support, to know that we understand. I would not profess to say I understand woman. But when a woman is telling me her problem, I am not going to tell her what I would do. I will listen to her, and then we will investigate where she wants to go. Because a lot of the time, you guys just want to get it out. And when we understand that, we can come together within the house. So a man's role is to be there as the backbone of the family. Although we know that the woman can lead the household in terms of being there as a mother and a wife. Now that man who takes this pressure, who has to be the backbone of the household, needs a small community for his accountability. And it's not just accountability. With my accountability partners, my brothers, I can be totally naked. Because within my definition of man not gossiping now. So if I speak to my brother naked, I know that's not going to place. If he speaks to me, that's not going to place. We can tell each other anything. But that is using our discernment, and that is a very small and highly intentional circle of men. So when I talk about a man, my friends are fathers who cater for their children. Man. Nobody could talk about, this is my baby mother and everything happened to her. No, go so. When we talk about provision, yes, they are there. So we have to have criteria, and in rooms like this, and we do require sisters, because you are our natural partners, and you are also our accountability partners. So when things are misconstrued and I feel the need to come back, I don't want it to be a vice versa and going backwards and forwards, but I'm highly pedantic with language, which you may have noticed, and I'm highly intentional when I speak. So I don't make throwaway comments like women are emotional. No, I say, can we agree that women are slightly more emotional than men? Now, this is when we talk about reacting to our emotions. Now, when we see a generation of young men who haven't even seen fathers, some of them, who are now reacting the same way that women would, but combined with testosterone, is a dangerous proposition. And when that proposition explodes, people lose their lives. So when we understand that, we are talking about creating the demonstration of what we call men for them to see, for us to see, and for us to be.
But what is that? Like, what are they being shown? Because I can only speak for my age group, which is mid-30s. Most of the people that I grew up with didn't grow up with their dad in the house. So what are men showing them? Are men showing them, go out, sow your royal oats, and go about your business?
Let me get. So, because I'm in your bracket. Most of the men that my age didn't grow up with the dads. But do you know what we've done? We've become the Father's Day we never had. We've become the fathers we never had in every sense. Whether that's making sure we're there, not just being there, but being there to implement structure. So, okay, then my answer to the question in terms of what it is as a man, we are here to implement structure. To make sure that there is structure within the household and within the community, and then that structure is lived up to. And then when we start doing that, I'll be honest, everything changes. I'll be honest. I've said it before. I think a big factor in terms of what is wrong with our community is that the men are not being men. Like, I'll be honest. I think we should take a lot of responsibility, because when you start to see us living and moving a certain type of way, everything will change. I'll be honest. Everything will change. The way our women act will change. The way our children act will be changed, because it's at the end of the day, we set the pattern. We set the pattern, and that's not a sexist thing, because our women have a very hard job as well, because they're implementing it. They're carrying it. They're carrying it through and doing the day-to-day and things. But in terms of setting the pattern, we set the pattern. If the mandem are slack, the community is slack, the families are broken, and as far as I'm concerned, that's what we've seen.
You know what it is though? Even though you're talking on that, it's hard for a lot of people that are in the mid-30s, like our age now, it's hard for a man to look at a next man and say, yo, my man's making that change. Look, you talked about your change earlier, and people say, no, has he really done that? Has he really changed? It's hard for a man in his mid-30s who's been through nothing and had nothing to look at a next man and say, yo, my man's changing. Can I change? Because that's the hardest thing. Even with some of the youths that I work with now, it's hard for them to see past the road, and they don't know nothing, and they're just about coming up, and it takes a lot for me to even change their mindset to think, yo, what, going out on the road and doing this and that isn't going to work. So even though you're talking about the fact that we can change, and some of us have changed, like yourself, myself, not everyone else is going to be on that.
Sorry, what's your name?
Mercy.
Mercy. You made a very important point, and it's a point that I'll make frequently, and it touches on what you're saying. We got to stop fronting as men. And there's one thing that I do when I speak, is that I will expose my vulnerabilities and the stages of my matriculation into this version of me that I went through. So I'll talk. I said, when I split up with my son's mum, I lived in the basement of my shop. When I had the weight on me, I was drinking 5 bottles of rum in a week, white rum. And I knew what wasn't beneficial to me. You wouldn't have seen me drunk no time of the day. I would open that at 10 a.m., and by 7 p.m. when I lock my door, that's done. And I move on to the next one tomorrow. And I did that for a period, and at the same time, you would say, but what were you doing? I was able to give my mum money, my sister money for uniforms for her 3 children. I was able to pay my bills. I was able to deal with my brethren and drop things on people. So we can be very outwardly functional without being functional ourselves. But because I didn't just arrive here, I arrived here via a process. When we stop fronting to show just the shiny side, we understand that it's normal for us to go through things. When we've been hit with losses, when we've been hit with pain, but we have to remain men. And there's nothing that isn't masculine about showing the journey of pain that we've been through. So we just got to stop fronting. And one of the things with social media, we care too much what we look like, and that means that other men don't get to see what the example looks like. And youths don't get to see. What I'm going through now has been normal for a brother who's got there, who would have a business for 11 years with the same 4 employees for that duration. I can do that, because all I have to do is matriculate based on structure.
Yeah, man. We got any more comments? Go. Right there. You need the mic.
I need the mic. Your friend that rang you that was upset, what is he going to do with that emotion? Just nothing. Just shut it off. Like you said, shut up. Like, where's that going? Just dead. Done. Because I don't
Okay,
understand
do you
that.
know, I'll be honest. Do you know what? Okay, where's it? It's not what you do with the emotion. It's not what you, yeah, it's how you channel the emotion. I mean, it's not about, for one, it's not about sitting down and bawling like some sad sack for days, fam.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's not about that. Like, slap yourself in the face, straighten yourself out, fix up, use the emotion to do something else then. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like,
Transmute the
yeah,
energy.
use that energy and use that emotion. Don't be sitting, like, you can't phone me. I'm the last person you phone as a man, bawling, unless someone's dead. If your missus has left you or something like that, don't phone me crying in tears, fam. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I'm not the person. There's other men for that. He phoned me for a reason. Like, he knows who I am. He phoned me for that reason because he felt like he needed to get backed up because he's like, I'll be honest, I don't believe a man should be acting like that. I believe you're supposed to have enough control of your emotions to not move like that as a man, blood.
And
Like,
sometimes you just need somebody who has been through it, because you see this thing when we say who feels it knows it. You can go, there's kids on social media. I saw a young lady, there's an advert going on YouTube right now. After a breakup here, what I recommend, it's really good for a breakup, is therapy. And how are you 16 years old? Listen, there's a thing that a peer can say to you that 1,000 hours of somebody else doesn't mean anything. That you got it. Because where he is, and you see the cultural nuances, like when you said, you two have an agreement, but you're not saying nothing. What's known doesn't need to be spoken. Men have this particular thing, just like you guys have this particular thing. Not men who haven't created a certain community, but men who have community and accountability partners. It's not saying get rid of your emotion, but with the few words that he conveys, in the way that he conveys it. See, as an outsider, someone might say, right, that was harsh. But his man understands. I've done it. I've gone to dinner with brethren, and I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. And one of my soldiers has just said one thing to me, and I say, you stupid Ross. Was that it? And now we're drinking and we're laughing. Because his experience in the way that it's conveyed made it simple for me. And that's why I said in the beginning, the highest form of intelligence is base. It's not the big words. So if I make complex subjects simple, it's because when the lion eats the antelope, it's because his belly is rumbling, not because he's jealous, not because it's pretty colors, not because he's bored, because he's hungry and he's obeying the command of his stomach. And what he's going to give to his man is to obey the nature of his spirit. Yeah. And when he gets back to him, he's good.
But the nature of his spirit was to cry.
Yeah, I kind of get it. I just feel like I just see
Was
a
it,
lot
or
of
was
men
it lots of
that's
other
just trapped
influences and
emotion,
feeling down?
basically.
Because crying is a natural human reaction and response
He cried.
to loss. So, but what I'm saying is he cried, but Zim said, don't cry, be a man. But his natural base instinct is to cry. That doesn't define him. He's not going to cry forever and never stop. He's crying because he's in pain. No. He's crying because he's in pain and he's releasing the emotion. If he doesn't release that emotion, it doesn't go anywhere. And that's when he's crying forever, just silently.
Okay.
Hold on, wait there. Do you know what? I'll be honest. He's crying and he's bawling like a little baby, yeah? And he's phoned me, yeah, because in his heart, he knows in his heart he should not be moving like that. That's why he's phoned me, because in his heart he's thinking, why am I acting like this? I am an idiot. In his heart, and I'd be the same, moving like that.
But that's because he's conditioned to believe that he shouldn't be behaving like that. Because you said something earlier, Dean.
Not necessarily conditioned, you know. Like sometimes.
No, let's go with
Because
that.
I believe that. Because as a baby, that's when we're acting at our purest, in our purest kind of form. So a baby is hungry, it's going to cry. It needs something, it's going to cry. It's in pain, it's going to cry. That is us. So when we revert to what we might describe as acting like a baby, that is us acting at our most, as you said, at our most intelligent, which is our base intelligence. We are acting from our nature.
There's no disagreement in what the two of you are saying, and I'm just going to connect it now. And you know, I'm going to connect it with.
And we're gonna wrap it up. Well, go on over there. Carry on. You go.
You see, when a baby cries, something happens. For the attention that the baby needs, because I've seen a baby in a pram and it's ignored, and the baby's crying. All the baby needs to feel is your heart. You put the head on your heartbeat, that baby gonna go quiet as a lamb. You heard the heartbeat. Crying done. And we are different as men and women. He cried. He got the attention. Now, if that man were here, he may even convey this to you. And you might be trying to convince him about the crying might have been necessary a little longer. And herein lies the thing. Where society is telling us as men that we must, number one, we have to be discerning with who we contact with our pain and our grief. Circle of accountability. You said that a man is going to stop crying at some stage. Some men cry and they go further into it because we can be self-indulgent and further into it. And people commit suicide when they are barren of hope. Now, without an intervention, people just can go more and more on that journey until they cancel their own contracts. Do you know what happens when your man pulls you out of the darkness? He reminds you of who you are. Me being in grief, we've all done it in private. The point when you're actually doing it out loud and phoning somebody, you're in a crisis. And what happens when you're in a crisis is there might be an intervention. He's saying that's what his intervention looked like. We would have to know whether his man feels worse as a byproduct of that conversation or better as a byproduct of that conversation. Because we have things culturally as well, just like girlfriends in accountability.
Okay, so we're gonna have one more comment over there, and then we're gonna stop the stream, but then we can carry on the conversation for like the next 10 minutes or so.
Now, I was just onto the subject what you were talking about. I think what he's trying to say is that his friend should not have been emotional about that situation that he was in, because it's not something that he himself would have reacted to in that way. But I do agree, men should cry, because you can lose someone. You can grieve any way you want. Sharing emotions is a part of life, but if your man's from Zimbo, then from what he's saying, he don't think his friend should be crying about that situation.
Give it a mic.
Time to cry. But a loss because someone's abandoned you or walked away is still a loss, and it's still a process of grief that you have to go through. And I took note of what you said about, you know, we're living in a generation where, to words to the effect, and sorry that if I kind of misquote you, that kind of men are being softened a little bit, and actually
Absolutely.
However,
They are.
what I would say
100%.
is the 30-year-olds, 30-plus-year-olds that we're talking about who had absent fathers, we grew up on men who didn't talk, and as such, we are the products of those men who didn't know how to articulate their pain. We are the products of men who learned that to deal with your grief is in the bottom of a bottle.
Nobody's promoting not talking about
but
your
what
grief.
I'm saying is, my grandparents' generation, those men dealt with their problems from what I've experienced, usually through drink or whatever the case may be.
And they also went out and played dominoes and had
drank.
community.
And then the generation beneath them, their sons, did not learn how to share their emotions or how to grieve or how to process things. And as such, often they walked away from certain situations. So to say, don't deal with those emotions and
He didn't
move
say
on,
that.
Nah.
He said, don't be on the floor crying. It's
Yeah,
very
but
different.
There's
There's nuance within
no,
it.
that's how you, but
You can't
why
tell men
why
how
does-
we actually receive it. And this is a thing. Because my job isn't to tell you as a woman
No,
how
I'm not
you...
ta-
bear with me, because I'm a man and he's a man. And we've been talking. But I think there are nuances that are getting missed.
I don't think they are. Just
No,
because I'm
I
not agreeing
think they
doesn't mean
are.
I'm missing it. I can hear you, I'm just
No,
not agreeing.
I'm saying based on what you respond with. Well,
Because
herein
what
lies the
Zimbo
thing.
said was his friend was crying.
Yes.
So it wasn't. So that was his natural reaction, was to cry.
Yes.
But even when a man cries, it's still different to when a woman cries. We're still two different beings.
And-
at the same
and-
time.
Yeah, no,
So
so I'm not
it
talking about that.
changes-
I'm
what
just
it
talking about
changes
the
though.
process of crying.
Also, yeah, it's different. When a woman comes to you crying, you give her a hug and this and that and this and that, and rare, you comfort her. When a man comes to you like that, you look at him, and it's not to say you back him up or you cuss him, but then you
Give him something.
you give him something in his belly to make him stand up straight again and push him. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
We're not women.
Yeah, you lot are not going to understand.
women.
Go on.
But
Go on.
men are killing themselves, so it's not working.
That's
Men
because they're
who
not
are killing
talking.
themselves
That's
don't have
because they're not.
that
That's
circle.
because they haven't got that. That's
You've
why
got
man.
men, bear with me. You see, during this pandemic, you had men who are in a situation by themselves with nobody, and they're not talking to anybody. That is not what is being discussed here, and that is what is being missed. What society is telling men to be now is not working. What we may have learned, what we have matriculated into, as I see 17-year-olds who have a murder fetish, we have never experienced in the culture of being Caribbeans or Africans in this country. It is not working, what we are being told by Western society. He never mentioned any stage leaving a man in isolation. Don't cry and stay where you're there. The men that went out, that were that older generation, drink was a byproduct as something. They didn't go out for the drink. They didn't go out for the dominoes. They went out for the community of men where they could laugh and share and break bread. Women weren't privy. This has not changed with functional men who understand there are nuances in everything, because the broad strokes, cry, yes, cry, but for God's sake, don't go and do that in front of the world, because the world don't appreciate it. They make
they're
fun
not
of
respecting it either.
They don't respect it. So when you have an accountability partner who can actually give you what you need, he didn't say, stay in your yard, don't bother me again. He didn't run him away. That's his brethren. He will give his man something where he realizes, crying ain't it. Because there's nothing virtuous in this. I've had my cry. I've got something else. Let me get off the floor. Don't make the mistake to think that men who will come and get that will go and kill themselves. The men who are killing themselves don't have these outlets that they can converse, where people can convey anything to them. Hopelessness is the stage that men realize when they kill themselves, where they won't even care about the impact on their children or their families. There's nobody, as far as they're concerned, with that pain and agony they have. They just want to end it.
Go on, Mish.
I just wanted to say, because I feel like there's a disconnect between the conversation, and Merce, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the reason why Merce is so focused on that particular point of men crying and emotions and whatnot, tying it into the community and family and our foundations and things, if a man is allowed to cry over a relationship, crying is recognizing, this actually hurts me, as in, if I lose this woman, that's actually a loss to me, this hurts me. So instead of saying, shut up and get over it, if a man was allowed to process that emotion, maybe then he would go to that woman and actually try and deal with the things, whatever it is that's got them to that point, rather than the man leaving the household, and then we're back to the key issue of the community of we're not having a strong foundation. So allowing a man to process that emotion and see this is actually painful, be vulnerable, maybe that, instead of adopting the attitude that Zim might have given him, which is an effort attitude, he might actually want to process that emotion, go to the woman, deal with it, we're back on track, we've got our family, we've got our foundation. So I think that's the point that Merce and Nadia tried to get at.
We're talking about a council of elders.
This is going to be the last comment from the lady
men
there.
shouldn't cry, it's just, or it's not that, it's important to allow somebody to recognize what that emotion is telling them, so they can then act on that emotion of, okay, I don't want to lose this, I need to make this work, let's go talk and work our way through this, rather than, F it, I'm not supposed to cry, I'm not even going to think about this, I need to keep moving forward. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, one more. And do you know what? I'll be honest. Go on, pass the mic on. But do you know what? I'll be honest. It wasn't that, It wasn't telling him to forget it. I was telling him, what are you doing, fam? Stand strong. What do you mean? Head up, guy. Get your head up.
But that's the same thing you see he's saying now, because I talk to my brethren like that. I talk to my brethren raw. Like, if you ask any of my brethren, they'll tell you,
no, we
I don't
have
take
to.
nothing, because I'm not telling them don't be emotional, because you see me, I'm a very emotional person.
So am I.
Very, very emotional person. So I will cry. I'll tell everyone I will cry. When things hurt me, I'll go home like, but that's just what I do. But you see, when I talk to my brethren, I tell them, yo, fix up, we can't do this. We're not doing this.
Oh, we need that.
We're not doing this.
We need that.
No,
But
we don't have no critique of women. We're saying what we do.
No, it's
No, we are men, and speaking as men, we're not speaking on women's emotions or how women deal with each other in terms of accountability.
All right, go on.
Let's have one more comment, then we're going to stop the live stream, then we can carry on.
What I think is really funny, like, and massive respect to you, because honestly, there really should be like a woman
Definitely.
in any conversation about the village and the community. There should always be like a woman's voice, and like, I 100% agree. But you know what is so funny? This whole conversation is a complete manifestation of why we need a community where women and men are together. Because the thing is, there's things that we can change and there's things that we can't change. We can't change men. Like, we're just never, like, this is a manifestation.
Say that again, please.
We can't get through to them because we're different. Like, I would say we are more emotionally intelligent as women, because we do have that spectrum and we do hold that space for each other where we allow ourselves to explore different emotions and we allow ourselves to see where it goes, so we understand how it feels to actually truly explore emotions. Men, you're not really that good at it, really, but maybe it serves a purpose.
No, we're not trying to be. We don't want to be.
You're not trying to be, exactly. But what I'm trying to say is, in terms of your friend that phoned you, right? The thing is, we live in a world where we exist, babe. So, like, that man needs friends like you as well. This is not just a world where men are alone. Like, I think, say if, like, we've got a friend, a mutual friend, he's going to go to Jermaine for a certain type of advice, but then if he wants to have, like, a long conversation where I'm going to let him cry and I'm going to talk to him, he knows that he's got that from me because he knows that I've got him too. And I think that's why, like, men and women do need to come together, because together we have the perfect balance to support each other and give them everything that everybody needs.
Okay, wait there. All right, listen, we're gonna stop. Let me just stop the live stream, then we can carry on. All right, so I love light and blessings for everyone watching at home, everyone that's gonna watch after. You get what I'm trying to say? This is the first of a long series. You get what I'm trying to say? We're gonna continue. And sorry if I didn't keep us on topic. My apologies. Mercy at the back. You know what I'm trying to say? My apologies to people that didn't keep it on topic, but I kind of just wanted to let the conversation flow and let the whatever comes out. So let's stop the live stream. One order, one nation, anything else dead.